The mistake we must not make when an ex reaches out. There's a moment that catches many of us off guard, unexpected, confusing, and dangerously hopeful. It happens when someone from our past, someone we once loved with all our heart, suddenly returns. A message. A phone call. A simple "How are you?" And in that moment, our heart stumbles. We feel as though something long lost has finally been found again. We let hope rush in without questioning its form, its purpose, or its timing. But herein lies a mistake so many of us unknowingly repeat: we surrender too easily. After a breakup, our hearts often remain tangled in longing. We miss the sound of their voice, the rhythm of their messages, the presence that once gave us comfort. Day after day, we scroll through memories, replaying scenes in our minds. And so, when they reappear, we react not from clarity, but from hunger. Like a starving soul offered a single bite, we leap toward it with gratitude, even desperation. We imagine it means they've changed, that they've realized our worth, that they want to make things right. We say yes too quickly. We forget how the last chapter ended because we so badly want to believe in a new beginning. And then, without realizing it, we enter a familiar cycle: reconciliation, fleeting happiness, disappointment. In trying to secure their love again, we begin to overcompensate. We try harder. We give more. We attempt to prove that we're better now, more understanding, more giving, more worthy. But this effort, however noble, often arises from fear. Fear of loss. Fear of being abandoned again. Fear that we're not enough. And when fear leads the way, love quietly slips out the back door. The more we give from a place of lack, the more we lose ourselves. We become dependent, waiting for their approval, afraid to say no, scared to set boundaries. We overlook red flags. We justify their distance. We convince ourselves that love is sacrifice, even when that sacrifice empties us. But love, true, healthy love, is not built on imbalance. It does not ask us to shrink. At some point, we may look around and realize, this isn't love anymore. It's a habit. It's emotional survival. We're clinging not to the person, but to the idea of what we wish they were. And in doing so, we neglect the most important relationship of all, the one we have with ourselves. So what should we do when an ex returns? Should we ignore them? Cut them off? Not necessarily. What we must do is pause. Take a breath. Reflect. Ask ourselves, why now? What are their intentions? What are our needs, our values, our limits? Because not every return is a sign of transformation. Sometimes they come back because they haven't yet found the comfort, security, or warmth they once felt with us in anyone else. Sometimes it's not love that brings them back, it's loneliness. Or nostalgia. Or even sexual desire. The memory of intimacy, once dulled by routine, becomes romanticized by absence. And so they return, not to rebuild, but to relive. Especially in cases where time has passed, the allure of physical closeness can be powerful. Distance creates desire, but desire is not the same as devotion. We must not confuse temporary longing with lasting change. That is why we need a process, a pathway, not an impulsive reunion. When an ex reaches out, we must resist the urge to immediately open the door. Instead, we must invite them into a space of curiosity, of uncertainty. Let them wonder who we've become. Let them feel the space between the old version of us and the one we are now becoming. Why? Because for genuine connection to be rebuilt, there must be effort. Effort breeds value. And particularly in romantic dynamics, a man's sense of love and appreciation often deepens through pursuit. Not through what is handed to him freely, but through what he earns. You don't need to be cold. But you do need to be grounded. Let him experience the mystery of your growth. Let him work to understand your new standards, your new peace. When you embody your worth, you no longer need to explain it. And if he is unwilling to go through that process, if he seeks comfort without commitment, access without accountability, then his return is not a gift. It's a test. One you have the power to pass by choosing yourself. The real tragedy is not in loving an ex. It's in abandoning ourselves to try and win them back. And the most powerful transformation happens not when they change, but when we do, when we stop negotiating our value, stop chasing closure, and start living from a place of deep inner wholeness. If they truly want to return, not just for comfort, but for connection, they will walk the path. They will meet you at the level of your healing, not your wounding. So when an old love knocks at your door, don't rush to answer. Ask yourself first, do they see me for who I am now, or only remember who I used to be? Because you are not who you were when they left. And maybe, just maybe, the person you've become deserves something far more than they are ready to give. When they come back, but you don't let them earn you. There will come a time, often when you least expect it, when the person you once loved returns. They may come softly, with a message that seems casual. Or they may arrive boldly, insisting that they've changed. Either way, your heart feels the shift. The past stirs. The memories awaken. And for a moment, the thought creeps in, could this be our second chance? But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. It doesn't matter who you are now, how radiant you've become, or how much you still love them. If you give yourself too easily, they will lose interest again. Even if you've evolved into the most grounded, magnetic version of yourself, even if your heart now glows with wisdom and grace, it still won't matter if you don't give them the space to chase. Because a man cannot treasure what he has not earned. The human psyche, especially in love, values what requires effort. What costs us something. What challenges us to grow. And if you hand your love over freely, without requiring reflection, repentance, or real effort, then even the most powerful version of you can be dismissed, overlooked, or taken for granted. Not because you're not enough, but because they didn't have to stretch to reach you. And so, when they return, you must not respond from hunger. You must respond from clarity. Because sometimes, they're not back because they love you again. Sometimes, they're testing the waters. Curious. Bored. Lonely. Nostalgic. Maybe they're not finding the same spark with someone new. Maybe they miss the comfort you once gave, the safety you embodied, the emotional home you provided. But don't confuse that for love. Comfort is not commitment. And other times, the motivation is physical. Desire disguised as reconnect ion. Intimacy remembered more fondly than it was in truth. Especially when time has dulled the edges of pain and left only a warm, aching nostalgia. They may crave closeness, but that doesn't mean they are ready to show up. So what can you do? You must be still, but not passive. Open, but not exposed. You must create emotional distance, not as punishment, but as an invitation. An invitation for them to walk the path back, step by step, learning who you've become. Let them feel the mystery. Let them taste uncertainty. Let them ask themselves, what has she been through? What kind of woman is she now? Does she even want me anymore? That psychological tension, that emotional ambiguity, is the soil where real longing grows. You must allow their curiosity to become confusion. Let their confusion turn to yearning. And let their yearning lead them to action. Because if there is no pursuit, there will be no appreciation. And if there is no appreciation, there will never be consistency. Then comes the next phase, the most delicate of all. Once they begin to feel drawn toward you again, once they sense your independence and power, you must become the version of you that is almost unreachable. Not because you are playing games, but because you are whole. Because your life no longer revolves around their presence or absence. Because your glow now comes from within. Let them feel that they could lose you again, and this time, for good. That is when the fear of loss replaces the fear of effort. And only then do they begin to give real effort. But this only happens when you respect your own worth more than you fear their absence. And yes, it's hard. Especially when the love still lingers. When memories still ache. When everything inside you wants to say, come back. Let's try again. I miss you. But if you act on that impulse without creating a new structure, you will fall into the same old pattern. A few days of joy. Then distance. Then disappointment. That is not healing. That is repetition. You must break the cycle by becoming the one who sees clearly. You must walk the path of power, not control, but self-worth. Because reconciliation without transformation is just delayed heartbreak. And transformation requires strategy. It requires emotional architecture. It requires a process, not just hope. So many try to rebuild without tools. They follow intuition alone, intuition that has been damaged by longing and fear. But what you need is a map. A process to guide you from emotional chaos to clarity. A roadmap that helps you stop overgiving and start observing. That shows you when to open, when to step back, and when to walk away. You are not weak, because you still love them. You are not foolish for wanting to try again. But you must love yourself more than you fear losing them. You must trust that your love is sacred, and it must be earned, not assumed. This is how you break free from emotional slavery. This is how you rise above cycles of confusion, ghosting, and emotional starvation. This is how you learn that the real power was never in being wanted. The real power is in choosing who gets to have you. And if they truly want you now, not just your body, not just your comfort, not just your warmth, but you, in your wholeness, they will rise to meet you there. And if they don't, then it was never love. It was only a lesson. So take your time. Trust the process. And remember, you are not here to chase. You are here to choose.